you know? So when you don't really realize why things are going on, but you're aware of them, it's very confusing as a young kid. Because as aware as I was, I didn't quite comprehend it. I was a child. But I knew that what we were dealing with, the struggles, low income, my mom not really being as attentive to certain things because she had to work all day. I knew that that's not the life I wanted, right? So a lot of my life was unstable. So, you know, for me, really the only goals I had in life was to go to college and get a job. Right? Because when you come from a low income family, right, college symbolizes success to everyone. Right? They don't know that when you go to college afterwards, it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee a 6-figure, high-paying millionaire job. But we didn't know that. So I pushed to try to get to college, right? But because all I was yearning for was success, the academic side of things for me was a struggle. You know, the academic side of things for me was a struggle. However, I was an athlete, like your typical inner city kid. I thrived off athletics. So I did enough to stay eligible to play athletics and be on the teams. And that got me by. When it was time to go to college, I barely got in, but somehow I got into college and I struggled, right? I was almost kicked out of school, put on academic probation, you name it. But I knew that I had two choices: either go back to my unstable environment with my single mother of 6 kids, and risk becoming a product of my environment, or figure it the hell out. So that's what I did. I figured it the hell out, and I ended up graduating, went off to get a job, was miserable deep down in my jobs, right? Because I knew my potential and I knew what I wanted out of life. So long story short, I quit my job, became an entrepreneur, and things have been working out for me.
Let's go back a step, a few steps, by the way. So that's a lot to unpack there. Let's go back to childhood, man. So you had living in an apartment and a house. What was the living situation like?
Well, I'm in Orlando, Florida now, right? So there's
But,
apartment
but
complex.
back then, back in
Right,
Wisconsin.
right. So where I live now in Orlando, you know, everything's apartment complexes. Um, you know, but where I'm from in the Midwest, there's not a lot of apartment buildings, right? It's all homes. So I grew up in a lot of different homes, but these are low income homes, right? Where there's like duplexes, triplexes. So I grew up in a lot of different houses like that we rented out. And I can remember vividly us moving in about a 5-year span. We moved literally every year. You know, I don't know exactly what was going on, but we'd move into one house, have enough money to just get by for a year. And then after that, we'd either have to move or get evicted. So I moved around a lot. You know, we always were moving house to house. So that's kind of where the instability came from. So, you know, when you got 6 kids, not only is it hard, you know, to stay afloat, it's hard to get opportunities. People don't want to rent to you. Right? People don't want you to come in and mess up their homes with all your kids. So we dealt with a lot of that growing up.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Most of your peers on the streets, probably.
Yeah, you know, where I come from, it's real gang oriented. You know, in the Midwest, in Chicago, that's where some of the biggest gangs originated. You know, there's a lot of neighborhood gangs. There's a lot of area gangs that they have all over the country, no matter where you come from. But then there's actual gangs, major organizations, kind of like they had the mafia in New York, you know. Essentially, that's kind of like a gang, even though they call it the mafia. We had that growing up. So in Chicago, you have two of the major gangs. You got Gangster Disciples, and you got, you know, the Vice Lords. You got Black Disciples, and these are ran by big leaders, guys that you might have heard of, like, you know, Larry Hoover, who's doing life in prison, and Kanye West has been rooting for, and stuff like that. So it was very gang infested. So because I'm a product of my environment, I was into all that. you know? So I come from the hood, but I'm not a hood guy. That's kind of a quote I like to use a lot,
Wow.
you know?
You
Because a
come from
hood
the
guy
hood.
is someone who aspires to be a gangbanger, a gang member, a drug dealer, get involved in you know, things that go on in the streets. I was around that. Those are all my friends. I was involved in some of it, but it's never who I really wanted to be. You know, if you grow up in a neighborhood where everyone's doing that, well, naturally you're gonna gravitate towards that. What are you gonna do? Stay in the house and be a loner? You know, you're gonna go out there and ridicule the guys who are supposed to be your friends that you go to school with. So naturally, that's what I fell into. You know,
Okay. So this is what, elementary school, junior high school,
this was throughout my whole childhood.
whole childhood.
Elementary school, middle school, high school. I was around a lot of gangs. I was a part of a gang. I was repping a gang. I was involved in violence. I was involved in, you know, some criminal activity. All these things that I can openly speak about now because I know that I was simply just being influenced. It's not who I was.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of this stuff is normal. You know, when you grow up in an environment where you see the stuff every day, it's normal, you know, even to the adults, you know, so my whole childhood, I was around it all.
That's crazy. Was there a flip, a light bulb that went off in your head eventually to say, wait a minute? Like you turn around, you like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 Ethan, slow down, man. This is not the life like I want to live or I don't want to be. I mean, were there any heroes, any mentors you looked at and say, wait a minute, wow, I want to be like that guy when I get older, or that guy, or that woman? No, none of that.
No, it wasn't. There was no heroes at all. And what a lot of people don't know who grow up in the inner city, they don't know that the hood or the inner city, the ghetto, whatever you want to call it, that they live in, sometimes is more of a facade, right? And me growing up in Racine, Wisconsin, no one's ever heard of that as a notorious hood. No one's ever heard of that as a crime infested place that is on the murder rate capital, right? So growing up in my neighborhood, I thought that being a product of my environment made me cool. And when you get older, you realize like even the dumb stuff I was doing or the dumb stuff other people were doing, whether it was selling drugs, violence, whatever, not only is it dumb, not only does it not make sense, it doesn't make sense in our environment compared to the big name places, Miami, Harlem, New York, Brooklyn, New York, Compton, California, right? The places that are notorious for real life crime, right? So I started to get older and I started to realize like, man, I'm seeing these guys on TV, these documentaries about real crime lords, real drug dealers, real criminals, real guys who are in the streets. And it really doesn't compare to the so-called streets that I live in. So that alone started to make me feel dumb because I'm watching a lot of my peers do street stuff and there was no benefit from it. There wasn't the neighborhood drug dealer who came through with millions of dollars and nice cars. There wasn't the neighborhood, you know, macho man who came through and everyone admired. We were all just in a pool full of, you know, negativity, just trying to scrape by. You know, when you look back and you look at historical stories about people in Harlem, New York, where the crack epidemic hit in the 80s and everyone was making millions of dollars, right? Or you talk about Miami, Florida, where people were shipping in, you know, drugs and stuff from, you know, overseas. And there was none of that where I'm from. So I was blessed with an awareness at a young age. So as I'm in high school and I'm involved with trying to do some of these things, I realized even the payoff that some of the guys get I'm around it doesn't compare. So I'm risking my life. I'm being a follower for something that doesn't even have a big reward. It has nothing but high risk, and that's it. So that's when the light bulb started to turn on.
That you can change your life.
Not only that I could change my life, but the life I'm living has no reward. I didn't really know I could change my life yet. What I knew was that the life I was currently living, or the path I was going down, it literally had no reward. Because your question was, was there role models? Was there even like a neighborhood stud that you looked up to? There was none of that. We were literally just doing what everyone in our neighborhood or in our city had done for years. And that is, if you're unsuccessful, you work a dead end 9 to 5. And then in the meantime, you become a product of your environment. You get in the middle of street stuff, you hang out all day, you don't educate your mind. There's no hope. So that's kind of, that's what I had to deal with.
Wow. So team, here's a takeaway from y'all. Is something we talk about quite often. Last Thursday, I did a seminar for you guys for goals and business planning. And I mentioned something to you guys, right? Your average of the 5 people you hang out with. And hear that again and think about that. You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So I know, like, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I have some Brooklyn buddies of mine, and my wife just despises them. It's like, she'll push me and say, you need to be hanging out with people who are 10 steps ahead of you and smarter than you are. This is a perfect example of Ethan saying he wasn't part of his environment, right? So make sure you guys get yourself, you and guys and girls, get yourself in environments that makes you discomfort, and learn. Speak less and listen to more. And no matter if the person is older than you or younger than you, doesn't matter. Ethan, thank you for sharing that. So what college did you go to?
What caused me to what?
What college did you go to? What university?
I went to the University of Arkansas. Before I touch on that, I actually want to touch on something you said, and that is to surround yourself with like-minded people, or people you aspire to be by, right? However, I think it's real important first, right? Because everyone's focused on learning. What can I learn for myself? What can I learn from the 5 people I'm around? Who are these 5 people that I can get around and learn from? You have to be comfortable around people that have the ability to teach you something. When I went to college, I was in college, but I was still thinking like I was back in the hood. So as important as it is to learn new things and learn from people, I think first and foremost, it's even more important to unlearn a lot of things. So segueing into college, when I did get to the University of Arkansas, I was down in Arkansas, I was using street lingo. I was talking with gang lingo, and it was natural, you know what I mean? And I started to look at everyone else like they were the outsiders. I'm at a college 12 hours away in Arkansas, and I'm pretty much homesick because I'm looking at everyone like they were the outsiders. Everyone came to college to do what you do when you go to college. I was there simply because I wanted that piece of paper that I thought was my ticket to success. I had to spend a lot of years unlearning what it took to even be successful, not just as an entrepreneur, but in the workplace in general. At least a workplace that's going to get me somewhere in life, right? You want to work at some of the fast food joints, no offense to them, but, takes a certain type of intellect and professionalism to really not just succeed in the workplace, but feel comfortable, right? So I had to spend a lot of years unlearning. So that's kind of what I dealt with. That I went to the University of Arkansas for my undergrad.
That's awesome. Guys, you understand what he said? Be coachable, right?
I think that's powerful what he just said. I need to cut you off, KB, because I mean, when I apply that to business, and that's something that I had to reflect on myself, because we're always so eager for more knowledge. A lot of us spend so much time in YouTube. Oh, what's the next book that I'm reading? I'm getting all this knowledge. But what you just said, brother, Ethan, bro, is so powerful, because there's a lot of things that we got to let go of.
Yeah.
One of them could be waking up late, man. What are the bad habits that you have that you need to shake off? You know what I'm saying? Because you can't read all these books and get all this knowledge, but then you still have all these bad habits, man.
That's right.
You're not coachable. You're not humble. You're not hungry.
Yeah.
So guys, write that one down. I think that was very, very powerful, man, what you just said, brother.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll,
definitely.
I'll give you guys an example of that. So like I told you guys earlier in the session, right now, I trained with Ethan in 2020 and now in 2022. I think he'll admit it this to you guys as well. In 2020, I was not coachable. I was very much in resistance and pushing back, and I was arguing and no and this and that. But this time when I came to him, I told him, listen, I'm not an alpha. I'm not a beta male. I'm just a man, a 40-year-old guy, a father and a husband, and a
Just a humble man.
a struggling entrepreneur, and tell me what you want to do. And Ethan, you want to touch on that? Was a big difference in my mindset now and before?
Absolutely, absolutely. The biggest thing I saw from UKB when you came to me is you were trying to be someone who you weren't, and even more so, you were trying to be someone in my presence that you thought would impress me.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm in better shape or I carry myself a certain way. You were almost trying to coach me, about how to treat you. You would say things like, all right, Ethan, I got one more set. If I quit, I call me the B word, or if I quit, make sure you get on my ass and and then I would see you outside of our sessions on Instagram, and you were posting all this alpha male stuff, Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality. But I knew you weren't giving 100% when it came to the diet, when it came to the workouts, right?
100%. You're right.
So it just wasn't matching up. The guy you were trying to portray wasn't who you were.
Yeah.
And all I was trying to get you to understand was, hey, man, I can see through that. And I actually like the guy you are. Just be the guy you are, and I promise you'll get a lot further. So the second go around when you came back to me, you're the KB that I knew you always were. And that's why you've been so successful.
Yeah.
Been a pleasure to coach. It's been easy. You follow the meal plan. We have an actual connection now.
We do. Yeah, we definitely do. Team, write that down, right? If you say something and you act a different way, you're not aligned. So he's right. Kobe Bryant had just passed away, and I was reading the Mamba Mentality book, and I was putting this thing on. This is 2 years ago, back in 2020. Like, I'm this fitness guy and stuff, but I was not, right? And as a realtor, as an entrepreneur, your values, your principles, your vision, what you put out there, you have to align with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the efforts you put out there, right?
Yeah. And you also have to find a way to comfortably do it in your own form or fashion, right? Because everyone is different, right? So the best version of KB can only be displayed by KB. The best version of Kobe Bryant can only be displayed and portrayed by him. So, I guess the point is, whoever you are is good enough. We can aspire to have qualities like other people. We can aspire to achieve the things they've accomplished, but we have to focus on doing it as the people we are, because that's good enough. When you see someone emulating someone or trying to take on the personality of someone, especially guys do this a lot, right? We think we have to be extra alpha, extra driven, extra vocal about what we're doing. That's not what, that's not what's going to attract people to you. What's going to attract people to you is who you are.
Be genuine.
Exactly.
Sincere. Ethan, let's so you're out of college. How did Orlando come on your map?
Well, when I was out of college, I couldn't find a job. All right, graduated with this degree, couldn't find a job. The reason why is because I didn't have any experience. I didn't have a clear path to a career. I thought getting that piece of paper was my ticket to success. I was never taught. I never learned what it takes to work in any professional industry. So throughout college, I was working a million jobs. I was hustler of the year and I took pride in it. I worked 4 jobs, you know, an example of one of my days, just one. I worked from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. at a hotel. I got off work at 7 a.m. and I went straight to school. I was in about a couple classes early in the morning, 7 a.m. to whatever time, 9 p.m., 10 a.m. And then I went straight from work to work at a moving company. I was moving houses, furniture, stuff like that, loading up trucks. I worked there for several hours. I would get off work at the moving company, sleep maybe 2 hours if I was lucky, go to work at a shoe store in the mall, get off work at the shoe store at about 9 p.m., go home, maybe sleep an hour, and then do it all over again, back to the hotel. And I took pride in it, right? Because that's all I knew. I was scared of not having that comfort. And now in my head, I'm a man, I'm away from my parents. I'm all out here on my own. So, you know, what happened was I didn't have any real work experience. I got my degree and it was like, now what? So I ended up signing up for a program called Teach for America. Teach for America hires college graduates to work in low-income communities as teachers. They take you through intensive training on how to become a teacher in 6 weeks, and then they throw you somewhere in the ghetto and they put you in the schools nobody wants to work at. So I signed up for the program, I got accepted, and I became a teacher after college. And I really only did that because I needed a job, I needed a career, I needed to feel like going to school was for something. So I went and became a teacher, and I thought the answer was to get a master's degree. I need more education. That'll look better on my resume. It'll help me get a job. So while I was a teacher, I went to grad school, got my master's degree, and same thing. After that, I couldn't find a job. Granted, I had a job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, you know? So me working this job after getting my master's, quitting teaching, I just couldn't take it anymore, man. I just wanted to feel like my life had some meaning to it. So throughout all of this time, remember, I said I grew up an athlete. I was in athletics. I played sports in college. I was getting into bodybuilding. So I trained people on the side throughout my whole life. So finally I said, what am I passionate about? And fitness popped up in my head. So long story short, I quit my job and I dove right into being an in-person trainer.
What year was that?
This was 2018.
Wow. So we met in 2020, and so you're doing this for 2 years. Okay, good. Okay, so 2018, you left corporate job, corporate America. You told me some stories about your corporate experience. Pretty cool jobs, actually. Actually, to think about it, still really good jobs you had. You stepped out, wanted to do your own thing, entrepreneurship, fitness, right?
Yeah.
2018, where are you living in 2018?
So when I decided to leave my job, I was living in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
I was managing jewelry stores in that area. And I was actually doing pretty well. What actually led me to leave my job was the success I actually had at my job. So I had just graduated with my master's, right? But during my time in graduate school, I needed a job just to pay the bills. So I started working as a sales associate at a jewelry store. And what happened was I moved up extremely quick in 1 year. In 1 year, they promoted me from sales associate to assistant manager. Or excuse me, before I even got promoted, they gave me two different raises because of my performance. I was making all these bonuses, commission. Then they promoted me to assistant manager. I didn't even want the position. I said, no, I'm going to get my master's. I'm going to go off and get this big corporate job. But it wasn't happening. So I said, you know what? I'll take the assistant manager position. Shortly after that, they say, hey, Ethan, we have a store we want you to manage in Athens, Georgia. We'll pay for you to move there, give you this pay raise and stuff. So all this happened within 1 year. Wow. So I moved to Athens, Georgia. Now I'm running my own store. Then I start running several other stores in the region, helping out with those. I'm getting pay raises, bonuses, right? But the pay raises and bonuses are pretty much based off of my performance, commission, sales. So it just dawned on me. I said, Ethan, you moved up the ladder this quick in 1 year. You know how the business structure of this company works. The next step is your boss's job. He's been at this for 22 years. He's phenomenal at what he does. So the likelihood of you getting his job is not that likely anytime soon. And even if you did get his job, do you want it? I didn't want his job. I didn't, so it pretty much said, Ethan, you're capped out. There's nowhere left for you to go. If you hadn't had the success as fast as you had, then maybe you could see a future. But for right now, Ethan, you're capped out. So what are you going to do? You're going to stay here and work your ass off day after day and kind of cap your potential, not only in the workplace, but as a man, or are you going to do something about it? So I just quit cold turkey. And I ended up in Orlando because I said, all right, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, what matters to me is having an environment where I can feel comfortable, where I feel good vibe, where I can feel pleasant about my surroundings. So I moved to Florida because I love Florida.
Wow. So come to Florida, you picked Orlando, you're looking to Miami, you're looking at different major cities around here, you picked Orlando, right?
Yeah, I picked Orlando. I just wanted to be somewhere central where the hurricanes didn't hit you too hard. You know what I mean?
Here we are.
Here we are, bro.
Right.
Last word said. Athens, Georgia to
2
Orlando,
hurricanes in a month.
That's
Yep.
right. Ethan, so fitness, brand new trainer, right? And new city. How'd you get started?
Well, like I said a minute ago, when I felt like I was just I was capped out at my job and I wanted to just figure something out. One of the things that was pushing me was comfort. I was doing good. I don't have kids. I wasn't married. I'm still not married. I was living a decent life for a young guy, but that's also what scared me was that comfort. I had to get up out of this comfort zone. Otherwise, this could turn into my life for years to come. So when I thought about what to do next, it didn't make sense for me to go get another job because the same thing would happen. I would be capped out, at how much they decide they want to pay me, where I can go next in the rank of things. So I decided to become an entrepreneur. And I thought to myself, what are you passionate about? And the first thing that popped into my head was fitness, because I work out every day. I already have a few clients on the side who I make meal plans for and just email them to. It wasn't nothing real, but so I moved down here and I became what I consider an entrepreneur. And at first, my goal was to eliminate trading so much time for money. As a trainer, I didn't want to be stuck in a gym. I didn't want to give out any of my profits. So I had this brilliant idea that I'm going to become a traveling trainer. I won't have to pay any overhead for a gym. I won't have to give out any of my profits. And it'll be more convenient for the client because I get to go directly to them. So that's what I did. I moved down here. I started printing off all these flyers, right? I got in my car. I drove around all the rich neighborhoods and I'm putting them in everybody's mailbox. And I'm so excited. I'm like, man, this is direct to consumer. This is the mansions in Winter Park. Man, this is going to really pop off. So after literally sweating hours and hours of putting flyers in the mailboxes, I can say probably out of, let's see, I printed off about, I think it was 5,000 flyers. And this is no exaggeration. Probably out of about 3,000 flyers, I only got 2 calls.
Wow.
2 calls. One of them turned into something. The other call was just a bunch of BS, guy trying to waste my time. So that alone really discouraged me. So I started posting on Craigslist, right? Anyone who knows about Craigslist knows like it's almost a thing of the past, especially right now.
Yeah.
Right. But that goes back to what I was telling you guys about unlearning. I wasn't even aware of how to market myself correctly. Right. So I ran into a lot of struggles. I was a struggling trainer. I was barely being able to pay my rent. You know, when you met me, things were a little better because I had several clients.
Yeah.
But it was still not where I wanted it to be. So
Exactly.
long story short, I moved down here and I struggled for a while. You know, I was barely able to make ends meet, but I took the risk. I took that initial step. You know, so what happened was I got with a mentor, and that's when everything changed. I started learning from someone who had actually been through what I was trying to do already, who had gone through all the trial and error, made all the mistakes. And that's when things turned around for me. That was about 2.5 years ago.
So you have mentors, right? You work with mentors.
Yep. I have a business mentor. And what he did was he showed me how to transition my entire in-person fitness business to online. So now I'm a full-time online fitness trainer. And you were like one of my only clients in person.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
a special case for him.
Yeah.
he felt sorry. By the way, guys, I'm gonna give you his information in a short bit. If you're in Jacksonville, you're in Miami, wherever you are, his program is amazing. He has an amazing app. He communicates with you with the meal plan. It's amazing. If you're local, I would definitely recommend calling and just having a chat with him for personal training. I'll tell you this much: he's not. Well, if a trainer is easy, you're with the wrong trainer, right? But you follow what he says, you'll see results, as you guys saw my weight loss, fat loss. He's the best personal trainer that I've worked with. I work with 3 or 4 of them. So he's number one for that. Ethan, habits, man, habits. How important are habits? What do you think, in your opinion, for success, man?
Well, the first thing I think is very important is, you know, I spoke earlier about leaving my job to figure out what I'm passionate about, right? I have a successful online fitness business now. Fitness is a part of my life. I work out every day. I don't feel right unless I do. But believe it or not, as far as fitness has taken me in life from my childhood till now, I wouldn't necessarily consider it a passion. It's just what I do. We brush our teeth every day, right? Does that mean you're passionate about brushing your teeth? So when we talk about habit, when we talk about habits, it's just one of my habits. It's part of my lifestyle, right? So I think when it comes to adopting habits, you have to first and foremost figure out how they fit into your lifestyle. And once they fit into your lifestyle, after a while, they don't become habits. They just become a part of what you do, a part of your lifestyle, right? So when something becomes a part of your lifestyle, you get good at it, right? You do it every day. You don't feel right unless you do it. Kind of like back to brushing your teeth. So you get good at it. So fitness was never truly a passion of mine. It was just something that I was real good at. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, I think more people should focus on what they're good at instead of what they're passionate about. Because you may have a passion for something, but you may not necessarily be as skilled at it right now as you are in something else. Wow. Maybe you have a passion for cooking. Every time you do it, you just feel good. You just feel like, man, I could see myself owning a 5-star Michelin restaurant one day. But maybe you're good at cutting hair because it's just what you've been doing.
Yeah.
So maybe you should focus more and double down on cutting hair, right? Because it comes second nature to you. It's not going to be as much of a job when it comes to learning how to cook and how to do recipes. Cutting hair is second nature. So double down on cutting hair, let the money flow in even more. And when you go home at the end of the night, you'll have more mental clarity to focus on becoming better at being a chef. focus on learning what it takes to fuel your passion, right? Too many people try to focus on their what they think they're passionate about, instead of first and foremost focusing on what they're good at. I mean, we talked about Kobe Bryant earlier. You know, the guy was passionate about, you know, giving back to kids and philanthropy, and he wrote a children's book and all that. And when we saw Kobe Bryant on the court, you know, he's a pretty vocal guy, but his face never really lit up. His face never really lit up. He was focused. He had that Mamba mentality, that killer mentality. When we saw him off the court, we could tell he was now diving into things he was passionate about. But what he was good at, what he was the best at, was basketball.
Wow.
Right? So sometimes if you do what you're good at, it'll lead you to what you're passionate about. And the impact will be not only better for your life, but for other people's lives. You know, so that's kind of what I think about habits. You know, I try to figure out what I'm good at, and I try to double down on it. Even when it comes to like relationships, you know, me moving to Orlando, Florida, I'm new here. I have a certain personality, certain standards. So I don't want to hang around just anybody. I don't want to devote my time and effort to just anyone. So I was always out searching for new friends, testing the waters with different guys. But then it doubled down on me. I have good friends already. They may live in other states across the country, but why don't I just double down and focus on that? So sometimes we have to double down and focus on the good things that are already moving in our life, and it'll lead to other things. You know,
That's
so
awesome.
Hey, Ethan,
Yes.
I think you hit on something really important too when you said about lifestyle, because that's something that resonated with me. Like, for example, like when I wake up in the morning, this is what I do.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's my way of life. This is what I do. There's nothing else that's distracting me. Yes, we have multiple businesses. We have a moving company and everything else, but more homes is my focus. This is what I do. You know, I think for a lot of agents or entrepreneurs, they want that, but their way of life is something completely different.
exactly.
You know, the habits that they have that they have every single day are not in line with what they're supposed to be doing. You know, like for example, if an agent wakes up at 11 o'clock in the morning and the first thing they do is turn on the TV and watch TV for an hour, and then maybe I'll make some phone calls, and I didn't really show any houses today. Well, then that's your way of life. You know, you have to really like analyze, okay, is the way of life that I have right now, is that going to lead me to what I want?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I think that's very important that you mentioned that, I mean, because sometimes we have to analyze, okay, what are my daily, how do my typical day look like?
yeah,
You know, is real estate or insurance, or for you, fitness, what I do on a daily basis, is that way of life going to lead me to the success that I want in my business?
hmm,
And a lot of times, man, if you're really honest with yourself, a lot of times the answer is going to be no. You waste a lot of time on bullshit, on things that are not going to get you to where you want to be, to where you got to be.
yeah,
You know, you get so distracted with TikToks and the Instagrams, and you know, a bird flew by, and now you're you get distracted by the bird and then the
Yeah.
squirrel, and
Shiny objects.
you know, so you really
Yeah.
have to adapt that way of life. You have to submerge yourself in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Ethan, you wake up in the morning and the first thing you're thinking about is, okay, my meal plan, and I gotta go exercise, right? Like you're thinking about that, and my clients, and how are my clients doing? Let me check up on my clients. You know, how can I get more clients? You know, you're completely submerged into your business.
Absolutely. But, you know, I think another important thing when it comes to immersion, right, and habits and the desire to live this greater lifestyle, I think what's really important is to allow yourself to enjoy some of the things a lot of entrepreneurs frown upon. Enjoy some of the things a lot of successful millionaires and gurus frown upon, right? And one way you can do that is by scheduling it in your day. You know, I love going on YouTube and watching my favorite bodybuilders and watching some of my favorite interviews and podcasts. And some of them have nothing to do with business. So we have to get out of the mindset of feeling guilty and beating ourselves up when it comes to indulging in other things that we like. You know? So for instance, if you want to get on TikTok and just look at bullshit, that's fine. But schedule it in your day. When you're done with the work, or maybe in the middle of the day, when you're eating and you're stuffing your face and you're laughing, schedule it in your day. That way, once you're doing it, there's no self-guilt. There's nobody in the back of your mind making you feel shameful or guilty for doing something that, quote unquote, doesn't align with what you want in life. Right? So, you know, to your point, you know, if I'm being real with you, when I wake up, you know, and I have a busy day full of business calls and tending to my clients and focusing on trying to make money. When I wake up, I don't focus on that stuff because I know it will come. I know it's going to happen. It's in my schedule. What I do is I wake up and I focus on just waking up, man. You know, because I realized that when I woke up and my mind immediately was on business, money, how can I get better? It was actually hurting me. You know what I mean? It was actually hurting me because we're human. Social media has painted this picture that we're all supposed to be these successful hard asses, girls and guys,
grander,
who just go. Man, I'm human. You know, at the end of the day, I get exhausted. Wow. Even if you don't see it on my face, I get exhausted. And sometimes it's not about how hard you do something, but it's more so about how efficient you can do something. I mean, picture the difference between someone who wakes up every day, the crust is barely out of their eyes, and they're checking their phone for emails. They're checking, you know, social media to see what prospects they got, or, you know, they're just taking 10 minutes to get ready instead of a whole hour. You know, so when I wake up in the day, man, you know, I try to refrain from getting on social media, but it don't always happen. You know, but one thing I know though is that when I wake up, I don't have anything immediately scheduled. Because if I wake up and it takes me a little longer to get going, I don't want to feel guilty about it. Because when you start to feel guilty about the things you're doing, it hurts you.
It does.
Right? What happens when people have a hard time following like a proper nutrition, right? This is how it goes. They tell themselves, all right, I got to start eating better. And they may eat one meal that's clean, but then they fall off and they eat something bad. And what happens when we eat something bad? We physically feel bad. We get bloated, backed up, gassy, brain fog, laziness. So the physical part affects our mental aspect. Now, because we know we ate something that we shouldn't have, we start beating ourselves up inside. And when you start beating yourself up inside, what happens? You feel more emotional. You feel even worse. And what happens when you feel worse? You eat again. Why? Because food fuels our emotions.
Yeah.
So now you're literally like a hamster on a wheel going nowhere. So the same thing happens with your daily habits. If you're at your laptop and you're trying to focus, but you keep doing this on Instagram or TikTok, and then you're like, all right, focus. Right? And then you go back and you're like, next thing you know, the end of the day is here and you didn't get shit done. And what's going to happen? You're going to beat yourself up. It's going to be hard for you to sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, now you're all groggy, you're exhausted, you're emotionally drained because of your habits. So we have to stop learning to demonize. We have to stop learning how to demonize all this stuff. And just, it's okay. Like, you know, you can be a multimillionaire and still enjoy watching pointless movies.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah, and I won't even call it balance, you know, because balance almost indicates that, you know, you can have both. And that's a touchy subject, right? Because if you talk to a lot of millionaires and successful people, they'll tell you, you can't have both. You can't have sleep and fun and this and that. So I won't even call it balance. I would just call it, you know, routine. You got to schedule everything. You know, every night at 9 p.m., my alarm goes off and it says personal time. That personal time is my personal time to do whatever I want, whether it's chill with my girl, whether it's watch stupid YouTube videos, whether it's work more, whatever I want. But whatever I do, I won't feel guilty about it. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. Edison, you had a question?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, you know, there's so many ways of skinning a cat. You know, that's why it's listening to, getting on these shows every single Wednesday, because you know you're gonna see that every person that gets on this show has the way of doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they're successful at it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying, like you could have someone wake up 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but they're fucking millionaires. They've accomplished everything they said they were gonna do. But that 12 to 8 or the 12 to 9 that they're out there working on their dreams, they're making the best out of that time.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Like they're maximizing that time. Like I was telling my wife this morning, you know, we were talking about, you know, listings, and she was telling me what her challenges are. And I was telling her, well, baby, you know, try to watch those YouTube videos that I watched, you know, to learn more about objections and this and that. She goes, yeah, but I watch it. I'm like, yeah, but I see you watching it while you're supposed to be making phone calls. You know, now you're not maximizing the time that you're supposed to be making phone calls, because now you're watching a video. Watch the video when we're laying down in bed, instead of watching a show on Netflix. Just watch your video. You know, take maybe 20 minutes, watch a video. You know, or before, you know, while you're getting ready, you're putting on your makeup. That's what I do while I'm getting ready. I have a YouTube video on or a podcast, and I'm just listening to it. But you know, you're maximizing the time that you have, you know, to work on your dreams. Because what ends up happening is, you know, we'll hear a story like yours that say, hey, don't beat up yourself. But then people run with that. Some people might run with that and say, well, okay, cool. Well, it's okay if I distract myself during the day. I'm not going to beat myself. Yes, don't beat yourself up, but measure how productive you are during the day. Because if now that's consuming your day,
exactly.
You know what I mean? That's where the problem is. Because now you're letting those bad habits, which what we were talking about at the beginning, is you got to let go of those bad habits.
Yeah.
You know, you want to learn all these new things, but you're still you don't have enough discipline yet in your life.
Yeah, so Ethan said to schedule. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Same thing. You remember the first thing I started with Edison 7 months ago? He's big in calendar, huge in calendar. Right. And I adopted that, Edison. Thank you for sharing with me. Any agent that comes on my team, your calendar is your grid, your Bible, your Quran, whatever you want to call it, your Torah. You schedule everything. So Ethan is saying, listen, if you want to put a 15-minute time frame to go on IG, you know, and look at, you know, KB's IG page, and press like, you can do that, right? But after 15 minutes, boom, like he had the phone alarm. In the 9 p.m. Ethan time. You know,
that way there's no guilt, right? Because when you deal with self-guilt, or you beat yourself up about how, you know, whatever it is you're doing, it doesn't allow you to have that mental clarity that it takes to do your job, right? But not just mental clarity to do your job. Some of you guys might have families or kids and things like that. When you have everything scheduled, it allows you to turn that switch on and off.
Yes.
All right, from this time to this time, I'm in work mode. But after this time, I'm in mother mode or daddy mode, you know, and that's important even with my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Because I can't just because she's with me all the time doesn't mean I'm with her all the time. You got to be present, you know, when it comes to being in people's lives.
Yeah.
And you got to be present. So yeah, having a schedule is super important.
Guys, questions? We're here at the hour almost. Not anything that a busy schedule.
I think Olga.
Yeah,
Olga, were you trying to say something? I saw Olga moving her lips, but I don't know if she was trying to say something or she was talking to somebody else.
No, she said no.
Hello.
Okay.
Johnny Morris is our best shape agent.
Is he on here today? Is he on here?
He's on there.
Yeah,
man.
Of course, man.
Is he with a shirt?
Guys,
you want me? You want to see me without shirtless?
I have been waiting for Johnny to say something, guys.
Okay. No, I have a question. At the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about we are the result or average of the 5 people that we surround with, right? So I just wanted to know how Ethan, how you did find those 5 people, because usually these 5 people that are, let's say, in a level above us are very busy, right? So how you manage to spend time with them and absorb a little bit of them and learn and become a little bit better out of that.
I don't know. Last time I checked, KB had all the time in the world. So did I. You got people
Okay,
around you, bro,
those
that do
are
much
2.
better than you.
Okay, I got 2. I need 3 more.
Well,
You got one.
I think the first thing I did
Yeah,
was
Kevin. Sorry.
I didn't look at the type of people I wanted to be around. I looked at
Okay.
the type of people I was around and how I didn't want to be like them. Right? Because
Okay.
when you grow up and you make relationships that are natural, family, friends you grew up
Mhm.
with,
Sure.
or even co-workers at a job, you have to look at them first and say, hey, I'm around 5 people. Why do I not want to be like them though? So that's what I first did. And if you do it like that, it will take you to a place where there's lonely nights, lonely days. You're by your lonesome.
Yeah.
Because if you're around a certain type of person, right, and then you decide that you don't want to be like these people or you don't want to adopt the habits they have, you don't immediately, next go to hang out with millionaires. You can't connect with them. You can't comprehend everything they're trying to put out there, right? You have to unlearn before you can learn. So we have to first go on a personal journey. And this is all just my opinion, but we have to first go on a personal journey. We have to get used to being alone, right? We have to get used to learning how to love ourselves. And we may not be where we want to be, but when you get used to loving yourself, you'll fall in love with the journey. And I know this is cliche, a lot of people say that, but it's true. And then throughout your journey, that's when those 5 people will come your way. So I didn't naturally go seek anybody. I tried to focus on the things I wanted to improve for my life. And it led me to my business mentor. Now I work side by side with my business mentor. So I work with I learned from a multimillionaire who's, older than me, who's been doing this, and now I work side by side with him and I help him run his business. So that's kind of my answer. Focus first on not necessarily seeking who you could get next to, but improving yourself and improving the things you want to be better at. And the right people will come along. You don't know how, you don't know when, but they'll come along. For me, it was as simple as reaching out to my mentor, say, hey, I see you have a program. Can I join? And me paying him a couple $1,000 to be mentored by him is how I put myself around those people. Now other relationships have built from there. So
Johnny, you have to be success to attract success. I go back to law of attraction. You tell your RAS, we talked about last week, what you want to be. You be it. You have to put the work in, and people and situations and will come across you and take you to the next level. Thank you, Johnny. Good question, Raquel.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe that once you decide to grow, be the best version of yourself and improve, is you start attracting those people.
exactly.
Which you're going to, it's like the energy.
Yes.
But you start attracting people that are going to collaborate and help you grow. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Right.
Very good point. Any other questions, anyone? Rafael?
Yeah, sure. I have 2 questions. So the first question would be, we're talking about going on IG, which I just went on IG to check your profile. And on your bio, it says that you help men lose, fat and build muscle. Is it men only that you train?
No, I train women. I've trained a lot of women and I still have women clients now, right? But that just goes into having a niche.
Okay.
right? So it's easier for me to market myself if I have a niche, if I have a specific target audience. It doesn't mean that other people won't come, you know, who aren't maybe directly in my niche, but what it means is that more people in my niche will come.
Gotcha.
So, you
Wow.
know, I do train women, but you know, I have a niche, so that's kind of why it says I train men.
So
So feel
team,
free to reach out to me.
quickly, last week I did a business plan, and number 2, and I'll send it to you guys today, email's done. It was to find your niche, which you can do with real estate. Are you a condo specialist, single family, townhouse? You can do a single family, be a condo guy or girl, but always put a specialty out there and be open to anything else. So Rafaela, call Ethan and talk to him. He's an amazing trainer, I promise you. You have another question?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to build on that, I have been looking for a trainer. And that kind of speaks to like discipline and routine, right? Something that I kind of struggle with. And I know that's a part of me. I need to really work on that if I want to see my business take off, right? And so I've relied on my genes and like, you know, I don't really get fat, but I'm not where I want to be. But besides the physical aspect, right, is just kind of like, how do I build endurance? How do I, you know, remove my stress? I have a family, I have a daughter. I am motivated. I want to be successful. So any tips on how do you work on getting that discipline? Like, how do you feel it? How do you build on it? Please, this is what I really need help with.
Well, it's easy. You got to get a coach, right? Because if you were strong enough to figure all those things out on your own, you would have done it by now, right? And believe it or not, it's usually the harder you want something and the more you struggle with it, the further away from it you'll actually be. Because it's frustrating when you want something so bad and you keep trying and trying. And I know they say, don't give up, get up and do it again. But at some point you got to say, all right, I don't know if I can do this on my own. All right. So when I train my clients, like KB said, I mean, he just texted me this the other day, man. He said, when Ethan, I was in the gym and all I could think about was your voice in my head. So a lot of what you need is not necessarily discipline, motivation, how to work out, how to lose fat. You need accountability. And even furthermore, when you have the accountability, someone who's expecting you to put in the work, you also need support, right? Because what happens on those days where you've had a long day and you know your coach is expecting you to be compliant with the meal plan and the workout program? He also has to support you. He has to be able to talk you off the ledge like I do with KB, or calm you down, right? Or encourage you and let you know like, hey, you're doing good, right? So accountability. When you show up to work every day at a 9 to 5, it doesn't matter if you feel like going to work or not. You show up because you know your manager, your boss is holding you accountable. And when you go to work, you don't just lollygag, right? You have specific things that you're held accountable to do. All right, so accountability goes a long way, right? So it's real simple. The things that you're lacking, you got to get a coach to help you and hold you accountable.
Oh, amazing. Thanks.
No problem.
And you have to be coachable too. So you have to be very open-minded.
Yeah.
Question, anyone? Christian, any questions? I hope you got some good value. Jessica,
Well,
what do you
good.
think?
No, how's the business going on today? How is everything, are you, where you want to be? What kind of future are you looking at? Vision?
Wow. Good one.
Yeah, my business is going well. One thing people have to realize is that, kind of like what I was saying earlier, is you don't have to always figure out what your passion is. And to be quite honest, I'm at a point in life where I don't know what the hell my passion is. And I don't care. But I know one thing, I'm making more money than I ever have in my life. I enjoy what I'm doing every day, and I'm super good at it. And because of those things, it's leading to a whole lot of other opportunities. When I wake up every day, I don't think about, oh, am I in love with what I do? What I focus more on is the outside things. How do I feel as a man? What are my morals, my ethics? What kind of human am I? How am I managing the relationships that are important to me? What kind of new endeavors am I taking on? Making sure I'm not taking on too many endeavors, right? So I focus on the personal outside things outside of business. That way, when I dive into business, I have such a mental clarity, it just sails smooth. And that's what brings more money. Ever since I started thinking like that, that's what's brought in more money. So my business is doing well, right? It's 100% online. I get to travel, right, when I want, still work from my phone or my laptop. I don't have to trade a whole bunch of time for money, right? And of course I want more money. I think we all want more money. However, what means more to me is my quality of life as I'm getting the money. Some people, my mentor is complete opposite of me. He's willing to do whatever the hell it takes. He gets up 4 a.m., stays up all night, sacrifices this and that. He has a whole team of people he manages. I'm not looking to do all that. So I don't want to scale up my fitness business and make it an empire. I want to take it as far as I can without overloading my mental RAM. And I want to make sure that as I'm taking it up, scaling it up, it's automated, it's running smooth, it's consistent, most importantly. And then when I dive into other things, other entrepreneurial ventures, I want to make sure that I'm mentally sane enough to do that. All right, so that's kind of how I look at my business. Like I said, I'm making more money than I ever have. So that alone, equals some success. However, it's not just how much money I'm making, it's what I'm doing to make the money.
Sure. Yeah.
It's what I'm doing to make the money, and that's important to me.
Absolutely. That comes down to, just like Eddie says, everybody has their own way, and it comes out, just rings in my mind. I don't know if you guys hear to Gary Vee. Gary Vee, the core thing that he says is, happiness equals success. Whatever makes you happy is what actually, success is not defined by society. Success is defined by you. So exactly. everybody does it differently. Just like, Eddie said. So everybody has a way to skin the cat, like he said. So yeah.
Thank you, Christian.
To me, my takeaway from everybody that we've heard on, because you're I think right now, Ethan, you're our fourth guest, right? I believe, or fifth guest so far.
Yes. Yeah.
And I always say success leaves clues, and so far, what I pick up is that the level of commitment that everyone's had. That Derek, your boy last week, KB. Ethan, the commitment that you guys have to what you guys are doing, I think that's what summarizes everything. No matter how you skin it, but you are fully committed. So this is what I got to do to the mission.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And nothing's gonna distract you from that. So that's my biggest takeaway, guys. However you want to skin this cat, just commit to what your mission is.
That's right.
See it through.
Yeah, commitment. One thing that's important when you commit to anything, it's not always about how hard you go. Like I said before, it's about how efficient you are. Right. I used to work long hours, barely making any money, but because I was working my ass off, I thought eventually it would come. And it's cliche, but like they say, sometimes you got to work smarter, not harder.
Yes, true.
All right, so sometimes commitment means stepping up and say, you know what? I want to be a better mother. I want to be a better father. And when you take actions to be a better father or mother, it'll make you feel like a better person.
Yeah.
That way, when you dive into your work, you'll just have better energy. So.
Well,
that's 100% true, man.
Thank you so much, Ethan, for jumping on, guys. Quickly, my takeaway, my notes, I'll share with you. Be coachable. This is what I got from Ethan's thing today. Be intentional with the group of people you surround yourself with. Intentional, right? We watch them. Number 3, be true to yourself. It's crucial. Like he gave my story 2 years ago versus now, right? Comfort will hold you back, Ethan said. You have to leave comfort. Number 5, unlearn the old way of thinking. We do in real estate all the time. Madison talks about it all the time. Unlearn the old way of thinking. Number 6, focus on what you're good at versus what you're passionate about. And if you're good at sales and marketing, build that. And then once you're set up and running, you get into your passion, right? Number 7, don't feel guilty for being human. So if you have a 10 minutes window in your schedule, it has to be disciplined, right? 10:15 to 10:30, IG, selfie, conversation, and then boom, 10:30. That's on the phone calls, meetings, and door knocking, whatever you have to do. Ethan, it's been a real. I appreciate you, brother. You did this for me, and I think for us, I think we have our relationship has become more about more than a coach and student. I think we have the journey we're working on together. I appreciate you very much, man. Every morning, guys, I got a text from him. Where's your breakfast at? What are you eating for lunch today? And listen, it was very annoying in the beginning, but I needed accountability, right? And that's why I have him. And then my friends say, "Hey, so you have pizza today? What are you gonna order on your pizza?" I mean, it's not gonna happen, right? Same thing, guys. If you have Edison and myself as your coach, we're gonna come at you for accountability. Don't take it personal, but that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to ask one last question, but that's
Please,
one of the questions that I had is that, what would you say to the people that they compare accountability to micromanaging, and they struggle with that? Well, I don't need you to micromanage me. Well, brother or hey, girl, I'm not micromanaging, but I'm holding you accountable to the things you said you were going to do. And they struggle with that. They just think that, we're micromanaging. So what would you say to someone that will tell you, Ethan, stop micromanaging me, man?
Well, first of all, there's a saying that goes, people respect what you inspect. All right. People respect what you inspect. Imagine if you were working at a job and they let you do whatever the hell you want to do. Well, you would do whatever the hell you want to do, and the company would go to the ground and you wouldn't have any success and you'd be out of a job. Right. So first thing you have to realize is when you're in a position and someone is above you, whether it's their actual title, their knowledge, their experience, whatever, they're there for a reason. They know something that you don't, right? Even if you are on a fast track to learn what they know pretty quickly, the matter of the fact is right now you don't. So you have to, like KB keeps saying, be coachable and just take a step back. Like for instance, when I was working a 9 to 5, everybody I worked with would complain when the managers or bosses would tell us something. And I would kind of look around and I say, what the hell are you complaining about? You don't own the company. Let's just do what the hell he's teaching us. Let's just do what the hell he says. He's not offending my personality. He's just critiquing maybe my performance. And if he feels it's going to improve my performance, well, what happens if I actually listen to him and it does? Now it's a win-win across the board. So let me just listen to him and see if maybe what he's coaching me about actually works. And I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it usually does. Right. So like I said, people respect what you inspect.
Can I ask something about that? Because
Yeah.
I think to me, micromanagement will feel as though, and I've been that person, Eddie, but I think it's because then I'm doing something that doesn't really align with what I want to be doing, or it is not in my plans. Now, if I come up with a plan of these are the goals that I want to reach, and you're like, hey, did you do this to reach that? I think it would feel a little bit different than micromanagement. It would feel more like accountability.
I think when it comes to micromanagement, accountability, I'm a firm believer in doing things by the book, right? Whether it's at a job, whether it's working with a coach, a mentor, do things the way they're teaching you how to do it. Show some success with that. And I think it'll allow your mentor, your manager, your supervisor, it'll allow them to say, man, you got it down packed. I don't have to hold you as accountable. And then it'll give them the confidence to let you kind of veer off and put your own twist on it, maybe switch some things up, things like that. It's kind of like playing basketball, And when you play
Yeah, yeah.
basketball,
I mean, what I will say to that, Rafaela, is like for example, like we know that we got to do our 50 phone calls per day, right? If someone comes to me and says, Edison, I want more business. I want to close 20 houses this year. Okay, cool. Well, how many phone calls are you doing? Well, I'm not used to making phone calls, Edison. All right, cool. Well, that's the first thing we're going to focus on is making 50 phone calls. Can you do 50 phone calls? Yeah, I could do 50 phone calls. Excellent. But then the days are going by. I'm holding you accountable to that. You're not doing your 50 phone calls. You might start saying, well, Edison, I don't see the value in doing 50 phone calls. That doesn't align with what I want to do.
mm,
Well, but this is what you got to do. You came to me for help. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the guideline. I'm giving you the roadmap. You know what I mean? Whether
Yeah.
it aligns with what you want to do or not, it doesn't matter. This is what you got to do. Right. And that's where people struggle. It's like, well, okay, now you're micromanaging me. I don't need you to call me every day to make sure that I did 50 phone calls. You know what I mean? And to your point, Ethan, when you said, if you were strong enough to do something, you would have already done it. So you need a coach. You need someone to hold you accountable, especially to the things that are not comfortable. I don't like doing phone calls, Ethan. I'll be honest with you. I don't like doing them, but it's
Yeah.
part of our business. We got the biggest role for us every single day that we wake up is my goal today is to get one more relationship. I got to get one more relationship. That means I got to get on the phones. I got to talk to people, right?
Yeah.
I got to get better at my skills, become a better communicator, right? But that's what I got to do, you know? So if I have a mentor that's calling me, hey, Edison, did you do your phone calls today? I got to let my ego to the side. And most of the time it's all ego that's really speaking.
Yeah.
It's my ego is getting in the way.
That's true.
I got to be humble enough and say, hey, brother, no, I didn't do it, man. I'm sorry, I didn't do it. And if he says, hey, man, you're fucking up or whatever, I got to take it and be like, yo, you're absolutely right. I got to make my phone calls, man. Right.
Mhm.
Or, hey, did you come to the gym today? Like Johnny's still here, right? He's right now training me. You know, and yesterday I was super exhausted. I did not want to go to the gym. It was almost 5 o'clock. He hadn't
Yes,
called
sir.
me. He hadn't called me to check up on me. Hey, are we going to the gym? No, I called him. I was like, hey, brother, are we still meeting at the gym? Even though I didn't want to go,
Yeah.
you know, but I
Yeah.
told Johnny when we got to the gym, I was like, brother, I didn't really want to be here today, but I'm here. I just hope that if I didn't come, you would have called me to hold me accountable because that's what I expect from a coach. You know, call me and be like, hey, brother, where are you, man? Let's go. You know,
I felt bad.
push me.
I felt bad about calling you, but I was like, if he don't call, I would call.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
Accountability
day,
is
like I
important.
told you, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, man, it's for my benefit. You know what I mean? It's not your job to call me anyway. You know what I mean? But if you were to hold me accountable, I can't get mad at him for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't be like, well, you're micromanaging me. And I guess that's the point here. You know, that we gotta be willing to do the things that make us uncomfortable. And if that coach is gonna hold you accountable to it, well, it's for a reason. It's to push you and make you better. You know?
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to have someone there holding you accountable. You know, it is, because you trying to do it on your own or trying to figure it out on your own, it's 10 times harder.
Well, I expect a WhatsApp in the morning from Monday through Friday about these calls.
Oh, we'll do it, baby. We'll do it.
We'll
Hey,
do it.
I do phone calls every morning. You're more than welcome to jump on phone calls with me. Whoever wants to do phone calls with me every morning, you're more than welcome to. We can make
Let's
this a
do it.
Awesome.
fucking call club, whatever you want to call it.
Let's do it. Can we get a
Calling
little,
club.
like, a little ringer for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
special appointment?
Hey, Ethan,
And
people
just-
are texting me about your packages. I said, listen, talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, as a courtesy, I'll request you to just, you know, give a little, you know, a little discount to my people here and want to use you. But guys, before we even talk about prices with him, and you know, I think he's fairly priced. I mean, he's always been like that. So please bring the commitment. You know, if you're gonna go forward with it, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
You know, just
Well, here's what I'll say about that.
please.
You know, you don't have to bring anything. You just bring yourself.
Wow.
If you had commitment to give, you would give it already. You would give it by yourself. You would give at least half of it. We're not experts when it comes to everything. We're not, you know, go-getters and champions when it comes to every aspect of life, you know? So you don't have to bring anything. Just bring yourself. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you become consistent, right? Because what's even more important than commitment is consistency,
That's true.
right? And it's hard to stay consistent, you know, if you don't have accountability. So, going back to the 50 calls, if you don't have anybody in your ear making you feel obligated to do it, you won't do it. So yeah, anybody who
Can I
wants,
give your cell phone number?
yeah, just give them my cell phone number.
Done. Send it to the group chat. All right, guys. Ethan, once again, man, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for jumping on, man.
No problem, man.
Ethan, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it, man.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. I appreciate the conversation.
Oh, by the way,
Thank
Ethan,
you,
so
Ethan.
the next thing will be when I invite you to our podcast in our office in Metro West. I'll get with you on your schedule. We'd love to have you there also on the podcast, be more intimate, a huger audience. And number two, guys, next week I have my buddy Joe Kelly coming on board. Joe Kelly's an amazing story. He was a big time cop in New Hampshire, and he got into drugs, huge drug problem, and he lost everything. And now he's a big time entrepreneur in Boca Raton. I called him last night. He goes, bro, count me in. Amazing story like Ethan's. These people are my personal friends. I'm bringing on board. Please keep joining. But that's what I want from you guys. So join, listen, and write. Take away. All right, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, KB, bro, for putting it
Thank
together,
you.
man. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Ethan. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye,
Ethan.
guys.
Guys.
Excellent.